Hi, this is Roy Samuelson for the 80 Presents. This is an encore episode. Satauna, she voices Seinfeld for the entire series on Netflix. It's really exciting to share this episode again. You're going to get a lot of golden nuggets. Enjoy. This is for Kevin. Welcome to the Audio Description Network Alliance. Today we're very happy to have another special Know Your Narrator episode. Satauna Howery is joining us. Thank you so much for joining us, Satauna.
I'm so excited to be here, Roy. Thanks for having me. Woo!
This is great. And we have a very special reason for interviewing you yet again. And it has to do with the number 180. And that specifically has to do with, do you want me to say the name or do you?
Oh, please go for it.
Okay.
You're such a great, Roy, you're such a fantastic voice talent, man.
Oh my
Go
gosh.
for it.
This is supposed to be the platform for you. We're spotlighting you. Seinfeld.
Seinfeld. Woo!
Seinfeld is having audio description now. And if you go to Netflix, Seinfeld will have all 180 episodes of Satauna Howery voicing the audio description. Woohoo!
Yay! All 9 seasons. Wow.
What was that
was
like
a lot.
for you? What was it? What was a lot? What does that mean? Is it like, did that take years? How did you do this? What can you share with our
took
audience?
months. It was done in batches, and the way description goes, you never quite know when the next thing is going to come down the pike. So I would do a couple of seasons and then kind of wait and go, all right, are we ever going to finish this? What are we going to do? And then they would show up again. And then the pickups kind of dragged on for a while. Like, I finished all 9 seasons, and a few months later, somebody would write me and go, we need a pickup for this episode and this episode. And it's like, okay. So the whole project took a long time. Even when I thought it was done, it apparently wasn't done. And now it is finally out, which is so exciting because it's been a long time coming. And it's one of these things where you do it and you want to tell everybody about it, hey, I did this thing and it's this show and I can't say anything about it, but it's really cool, So I'm really excited that it's here.
It's great to hear about that long time in the sense of your commitment to that. And it sounds like also the team that you worked with, that if pickups were coming after you recorded, that means that they had to go through everything and comb through it. That, as we talk about all the time in this show, that there's a lot of different aspects to it. There's the writing and you as a voice talent and the others who are contributing to audio description. With specifically this engulfing batches of seasons and everything else that you did, was there something specifically different about doing what I can only imagine being 90 hours worth of audio description versus maybe a feature film or maybe a series that you work on? What was different about doing so many of one show?
What was really different about this actually was the process. You can hear at the end of every show, if Netflix doesn't go to the next episode because autoplay is on, it will say audio description by, it will say, makes it sound like it's an AI. Okay, let's start this whole thing again.
Sure.
So what was really different about this was the process. At the end of every episode, if your Netflix isn't set to autoplay and moving you on to the next episode, you will hear me say, audio description by Zoo Digital, written by so-and-so, narrated by Satauna Howery. And I want to make sure to give the writers credit. I said so-and-so because there were multiple writers, but there was just one narrator. So I'm not trying to throw the writers under the bus there. Yay, writers! So Zoo Digital uses an online software application. So you use Chrome, you open up Chrome and you go into this webpage and off you go. And so that whole process was really different. It was the first time that I'd used a specific piece of software developed by a company to do this. And while the software was sort of kind of workable for me on my own, there were keyboard shortcuts and I managed a few episodes all independently. It was simply faster for me to have somebody behind the mouse, as it were, clicking and doing all of that. And so my daughter and I did this together, and she was the audio engineer person and I was the voice person. And the best part about that was we would have moments where I would see a line of description and I'd think, well, I don't know what that means. What is going on? And my daughter, Kira, she's sighted. So I would say, what's really happening in this? What's going on? Is this really true? And so we were able to do some QC on the fly. And it would go the other way too, where I would read something and she'd be, the media is playing as I'm reading, and she can see that video. So she would say, I have no idea what this, we need to change this. How about we make it say, such and such. So it was sort of a back and forth. And then again, Kira and I just work really well together. So part of what made this show so much fun was just being able to do it with her together. We had a blast. And we would make fun of the music and don't. And we would like sing to each other and do our own little Seinfeld band. And it was just such a fun process.
And when you say the process, what I'm hearing is, as your daughter was playing the role of the engineer, that collaboration must have affected your performance. In other words, had you been uh, in, that for the way that you and she worked together, that collaboration, her focusing on the engineering side, you focusing on the voice, and both of you contributing to each other's knowledge and making it better, that it made
Mhm.
it better. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, and I would say that there were things we learned as we went along. The software was certainly new for both of us. And in those beginning seasons, they would put all of these credits at the end. I mean, huge amount of credits. And I'm just speeding through this at legal disclaimer radio copy, pace, because there was so much material to cover in such a small space. Um, and as we grew in our knowledge of how to effectively use this application, we got better about being able to go in and edit things. And so there were moments where we would just do a dry run of reading through credits and go, okay, this is not going to fit. Let's chop these credits out because, let's make it understandable. It's nice to have everything there, but the fact is that it's not possible. And just in a general sense, with something like Seinfeld, credits aside, just in the general arc of the show, it's not possible to have everything there. This is one of these things where, wow, extended description would be pretty amazing and probably
Mm,
very helpful.
mhm, yeah. And speaking of credits, you had mentioned at the beginning of this process that you were talking about that we do hear audio description voiced by Satana Howery.
Yes.
You brought that up for a reason. Why does that mean something to you aside from, you saying your name?
If you've ever been in a room full of blind people talking about their audiobooks and the narrators who've narrated them, you'll understand that these are voices that are in our ears in the same way that, I don't know, certain special effects designers, or the way that a certain director puts their visual um, palettes together. Those are stylistic, and those have meaning to people. And people talk about those and reference those and know those. And it's the same thing. We don't run around not acknowledging the narrators of audiobooks. And it seems to me like a really reasonable thing to acknowledge the people who are involved in audio description. We wouldn't not acknowledge the people who visually designed something, you know, all those credits are there. So um, this is a important piece of creating equity, I think, for blind audiences.
When it comes to acknowledging you, and specifically in Seinfeld, as the audio description voice and the meaning behind that acknowledgement, it sounds like there is something to it that you brought to Seinfeld. Those 180 episodes, there's something about what you brought, some craft, some skill as a voice talent that is worthy of acknowledgement. If you have a way to separate yourself and talk about yourself in maybe a third person, what is it that you brought to voicing of audio description for Seinfeld?
I think with any audio description, what narrators bring to it, hopefully, um, is humanity, right? Like Seinfeld is a sitcom, so heavy emphasis on the com for comedy. And so, if you've got something like an AI voice trying to manage that, AI voices just aren't funny. So, I mean, unless, we're making jokes and satire about them, right? Um, but I think, as people, we get that story arc. We understand the joke behind what's going on. And so without subjectively talking about what the person is thinking, that information is conveyed in the way that I read the copy.
I see. So one of the things that seems to be a very positive thing about synth voice in the context of reading email or the context of calendar appointments or even a Twitter feed is that it's very conversational, that it's changed a lot, even in the last 5, 10 years, to be able to have that conversational. What I'm understanding with you saying, specifically in a sitcom, understanding the joke, that a conversational read kind of glosses over that humanity in a way that you as a voice talent, let's say, bring intention. You bring something to it that is not simply conversational. Would you have some words to talk about what that is beyond just a conversational read? That I think you answered it really clearly when you said understanding the joke. Can you expand on what understanding the joke means in the context of a human voicing something?
If I can put it into a different context, AI voices, well, we call them AI voices or synth voices. I think they're AI because as they learn about us, the underlying algorithms are supposed to be able to tailor the responses more effectively, right? There's a machine learning piece that's going on here. When I'm listening to any kind of synthesized or AI voice, I'm generally not listening to it for the conversational element, at least for me as a person who is blind, who has been using speech for the better part of my life on computers. So I'm listening to it from a functional standpoint. When the A lady, who is outside my booth and would hear her name if I spoke it,
That's
when
how to
my
thread that
smart
needle.
when when my smart speaker answers me if I ask, "What's the weather?" It's nice to hear it in a conversational tone, but if I were to ask, some old synthesized voice, "What's the weather?" and I heard it in, very high speed, speaking faster than most sighted people can understand because they haven't been listening to speech for that many years, and they all look at you like, "How do you even know what it's saying?" Right? So that's a functional response that I'm after. I don't care too much about the conversation. At least for me, I care less about the conversationality of it. And that's why when I'm reading email, when I'm looking at social media, I'm not listening to it at the speed that you and I are talking at right now. I'm listening at a much faster rate because it's functional for me. Audio description is not functional. Audio description is woven in to the story in the same way that the clothes that the characters are wearing and the setting that the story is in are story elements. So it's a totally different kind of thing for me. Um, and it's why AI voices detract from it because they make it seem as if all we're trying to do is create something that's functional. We don't make movies for sighted people because it's functional. We make it because it's entertainment and it's fun and it's interesting and it's thought provoking and it's an escape and it's storytelling and it's exciting and it's sad and it's an emotional experience. It's an experience that people get involved in. You want to be in that story until there's a commercial break and you have to go get your popcorn. So, but you know what I'm saying. I mean,
Mm.
that's it. I think AI voices absolutely have their place. I still use synthesized speech every day. And quite honestly, some of these newer voices, they breathe. I don't care. I don't need you to breathe for me. I need you to speak it in an efficient, quick manner that gets me the information I need as quickly as possible.
I just am pausing because I was waiting for the appropriate sound of a mic dropping, which you've just exquisitely done. I have no further questions, Your Honor. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add for our audiences? with regard to your experience in the Seinfeld or outside of that? Anything that you'd like to share with our audience?
This is such an iconic show. Love it or hate it. So many people know Seinfeld, and it's exciting to see Netflix putting it out there with description. And I feel privileged to have been a part of that. So I, I think that it's a show that probably lends itself really well to extended description. But just to have description in it is great. And it's an older show, right? It's not this brand new, hot off the press thing. It's taking something out of that back catalog and making it more watchable, more accessible to a broader audience. And that's a good thing.
As always, well said, Satana. Is there anywhere that people can follow you, social media, websites, otherwise?
Oh, you can find me on my website, satana.com, and my name is Sataun, like November, A.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I do have a Twitter account, although I don't use it that much. And the fact is that if you just Google my name, you'll find me because Satana is just so uncommon that I'm right at the top there. So I have to totally behave online.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us, Satana.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was great, Roy.